Let's talk about the heartbreak that was Kiss of Life. This was one of the fifth-generation groups I genuinely rooted for.
Welcome back, y'all. It's Rosieri. Welcome back, y'all. It's Rosieri. Capisce?
You guys probably think I'm just some lame K-tuber clawing for clout, destined to flop, right? Like I sit around using X group for views, wishing I was half as iconic as whatever K-tuber y'all are standing this week. And hey, maybe some of you already hit unsubscribe. Maybe I'm just a copycat in your eyes. But here's the truth. There are some things I need to get off my chest. Real things. And yeah, life's been lifing. Between juggling real-life chaos and trying to keep up with this YouTube game, I'm not the fastest voice out there. But I've got something to say about what's been going down lately. And unfortunately, we're having this conversation again. Because it's 2025 and somehow, people still don't get it. So hey, welcome back Rosieries, both the ride or dies and the new ones poking around. Let's talk. BlackPink was the second K-pop group that pulled me into the madness, and honestly, they were the first girl group whose music I really fell in love with. Like, it was serious. I had Rosé as my bias. I was binge-watching their content like a full-time Blink. I mean, I was practically inhaling it like I was getting paid. Whether it was praise or criticism, I loved talking about them because they were entertaining. They gave people something to talk about. But little by little, that admiration started to crack. Because slowly, they started showing their true colors. I'm not talking about the basic stan drama. I'm talking about the cultural appropriation, the racist behavior, the complete lack of accountability. This isn't new. For years, Desi and Black K-pop fans have been calling this out, asking, begging, for some form of acknowledgement. And what do we get in return? Mockery, gaslighting, and straight-up silencing. Not just from non-Black K-pop fans, but also some of our own Black fans who would rather protect idols than their own community. But I'll get to that part later. Let's fast forward to now. You already know about the N-word scandal. That leak from someone who claimed to be an XYG employee? Yeah, that one. In the video, the BlackPink members, specifically Rosé, Jennie, and Lisa, were singing along to English songs, mostly by Black artists, and saying the N-word multiple times like they were in their own private concert. Like they thought that word was just another lyric, even if it was during their trainee days. That's not an excuse. They weren't hypnotized. Nobody forced them. They chose to say it. And now, when they could take accountability and clear it up, they choose silence. You can't tell me that's not intentional. Their silence is screaming louder than any apology ever could. All Black fans are asking for is the bare minimum. What's so hard about just saying, "Hey everyone, we saw the leaked video of us singing along to a song that included the N-word, and we've realized how deeply that offended our Black K-pop fans. At the time, we thought it was okay to say the word because it was part of the lyrics, but that doesn't excuse the harm it caused. We want to sincerely apologize to every Black fan we've hurt. Moving forward, we promise to be more mindful, more educated, and more respectful. Our intention was never to cause pain, but we take full responsibility for our actions and we're committed to doing better." That right there? That would be them taking accountability. That's literally all we're asking for. That's it. But no. Rosé, Jennie, and Lisa are out here acting like they're too rich and too famous to care about how their words hurt people. That's not confidence. That's arrogance. That's being so deep in your own world that you forget the people who helped you get there in the first place. And what makes it even worse is that these same women have no problem collaborating with Black artists and showing up to places where it benefits their image. They benefit from the culture but refuse to respect the culture. They didn't even care enough to research the Met Gala's theme this year, which was all about celebrating Black excellence in fashion. Instead, Jennie spent the whole interview talking about her love for Chanel, like she was at Paris Fashion Week instead of a tribute to Black history. She claimed she did research. Girl, where? Rosé pulled up like she was just there for attendance. No substance, no respect, just for exposure. Lisa? Lisa wore Black people's faces printed on her underwear. Yes, underwear. And she strutted around like she just reinvented boldness. That wasn't bold, that was tone deaf. And before anyone says, "Oh, the stylist made her wear it," let's get real. Lisa is not a child. She can say no. If she didn't like a hairstyle or a pose, we all know she would have said something. So miss me with that. And let me be clear. I'm not dragging them because I hate them. I don't. I just want accountability. I want growth. Lisa actually did show growth once. Remember the fan call where a Black fan asked her about the box braids in her Money music video? Not only did she apologize, but she extended the call to listen and learn more. That was maturity. That was decency. So clearly they can do it when they want to. The real issue now is, say it with me, blinks. And not just any blinks. Satan's favorite children called the solo stands, where some of y'all are out here acting like fans of a cult, not a music group. You attack Black fans for asking for basic respect. You mock us, gaslight us, and act like we're ruining the fun just because we don't want to be disrespected by the people we once supported. And trust me, I've got a whole lot to say about that next. Can you imagine the frustration of Black K-pop fans when BlackPink said the N-word? It's beyond tiring. At this point, it feels like some of these fans are in a competition to be the worst fandom out there. Black K-pop fans are not asking for much. We're simply asking for accountability. But instead of acknowledging a very real mistake, Blinks are out here acting like BlackPink will lose their entire careers if they simply own up to what happened. They come up with the most ignorant, tone-deaf, and flat-out disgusting responses. It was a long time ago. Then why was the N-word in the song in the first place? You're getting offended over nothing. Black people love playing the victim, as if the world revolves around them and their culture. This is such a Black supremacist view. Then Black people should stop saying it and putting it in their songs. What's wrong with saying the N-word? It's just a word people get offended over nothing. Whenever people appreciate your music, you guys complain. I'm Black and I don't find what they said offensive at all. I'm Black and anyone can say the N-word. Black people are just too dramatic. I don't care either way. They're allowed to say it. Black Americans think they're the only Black people in the universe. So let me get this straight. You're offended that they said the N-word, but where was Black people's energy when Black people were racist toward Asians? Black people act like they can't be racist too. You guys complain over everything. They're not racist, and it's not racist to say the word. Get over it. And the list goes on. I wish I could say I was surprised, but I'm not. The K-pop community has always had deep anti-Black undertones, and the fact that in 2025, when people have access to endless resources, they still choose to be this willfully hateful, tells you everything you need to know. It's not just ignorance anymore, it's intentional. Because being a decent human being, apparently, is too much work for some of these people. They'd rather jump through hoops and invent excuses than simply admit that their faves messed up. But the hurt doesn't just come from the obvious racism. The real sting comes from watching self-hating Black K-pop stans bend over backward to silence other Black fans, all for the sake of idols who will never see them as equals. These are the same fans who get more offended by criticism of their favorite group than they do by actual racism. They rush to defend people who don't care about them, who will never speak up for them, who likely see them as just another N-word behind closed doors. And the worst part? Non-Black people are laughing at you, not with you. You're not seen as a fellow fan, you're seen as entertainment, as the token who will fight your own community for scraps of validation. Let me be very clear for the people still asking why saying the N-word is offensive. It's not just a word. It is a word that carries centuries of trauma, built on the backs of slavery, dehumanization, lynching, segregation, systemic racism, and violence. It was used to reduce Black people to something less than human. It's not something you get to say just because you heard it in a song. When Black people use it within their own communities, it's about reclaiming a word that was once used to break them. It's an act of survival, of cultural solidarity, of turning pain into something we control. But when someone outside of the Black community says it, it doesn't carry that same meaning. It carries the weight of everything that word ever represented, without the lived experience to justify its use. When non-Black people say it, it feels like mockery. It feels like a slap in the face. It feels like they are picking up the chains we broke free from and trying to wear them as accessories. And to say that Black people are too sensitive or playing the victim for calling this out, that's straight up evil. You want to talk about supremacy? Supremacy is treating an entire race like second-class citizens while accusing them of being the problem for simply asking to be respected. Supremacy is gaslighting people into believing that they're overreacting when they're just tired of being stepped on. If your definition of equality means ignoring racism to protect your faves, you're not fighting for justice. You're fighting to maintain your own comfort. The amount of gaslighting and victim blaming in this fandom is exactly why people struggle to take your idols seriously when controversy hits. You don't want accountability. You don't want them to grow, you just want their past to be swept under the rug so you can go back to standing in peace. That's not how growth works. That's not how people become better. Real fans hold their idols accountable, not because they hate them, but because they care enough to want better for them. You can't claim to love someone and be this terrified of them facing the consequences of their own actions. For years, you've allowed these women to manipulate situations and avoid responsibility for things they should have never done or said in the first place. And the moment someone calls them out, even respectfully, you act like it's the end of the world. You attack, you deflect, you guilt trip. But the real problem isn't the people calling out harmful behavior. The real problem is you. Take a long, hard look in the mirror. You want your faves to be seen as good people, but you're the main ones preventing them from doing the work to get there. You coddle them so much that they never learn. It's actually atrocious. So no, we're not going to stop talking about this. We're not going to get over it. And we're certainly not going to stay silent just because you're uncomfortable. If basic accountability and respect are too much for you to handle, maybe you're the one who needs to log off. Because at the end of the day, Black K-pop fans deserve respect, not ridicule. And if you can't understand that, then you're part of the problem. Let's talk about the heartbreak that was Kiss of Life. This was one of the fifth-generation groups I genuinely rooted for. Their vocals were fire. Their music was fresh. I was fully on board. I wanted them to win so bad, y'all. I screamed, I praised, I was ready to throw hands for their recognition. But just like New Jeans, they did a full 180 and became a major disappointment. So let's rewind to April 2nd, when they went live on YouTube for Julie's 25th birthday. The theme was supposed to be old-school hip-hop vibes, but instead we got the K-pop version of a problematic costume party. Oversized chains, cornrows, giant hoops, fake accents, every outdated stereotype in one live stream. And to really seal the clownery, they gave themselves nicknames. Belle, in Latina-coded makeup, was literally called Lil Taco Bell. Hanyul became Bob Sky. Natty, NT. I'm not even joking. It was like watching a TikTok skit that should have been left in drafts. Of course, backlash came flying in. And rightfully so. They lost over 200,000 followers on Instagram overnight. Some fan accounts announced their closure, reflecting a fracture within the community. And instead of a sincere apology, their company S2 Entertainment put out some generic PR statement that barely scratched the surface. Then the girls tried to clean it up with handwritten letters, but forgot to address the actual community they offended. Like, how do you apologize without saying who you're apologizing to? They said a whole bunch of nothing. Then they quietly dropped a song called Live, Love, Laugh that nobody knew existed because, well, nobody cared. But the karma? Oh, the karma finally delivered. KCON LA 2025 said, "No thank you." That's right, y'all. Kiss of Life will no longer participate at KCON LA this year amid their cultural appropriation scandal. For once, a K-pop group actually faced consequences for anti-Black behavior. Their company released a statement saying Kiss of Life would no longer be attending KCON, and KCON USA dropped their own apology asking fans for understanding. And I'm like, yeah, understand that when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Just like Blinks, Kissies found the most ridiculous ways to deflect. Every time someone brought up how offensive that live stream was, the excuses started flying. They didn't mean any harm. It's just cultural appreciation. Y'all complain over everything. Shut up. They had Black backup dancers. How can they be racist? Like, are y'all serious right now? The Black community voiced valid hurt. And instead of listening, Kissies turned into unpaid lawyers for a group that clearly doesn't care enough to learn. They defended them like their rent depended on it. And through all of it, not once did they stop and think, wait, maybe my fave was actually in the wrong. Let's be clear. The members mocked Black culture. They mocked Mexican culture. They knew what they were doing. But instead of accountability, they gave us an apology so robotic, it could have been generated by ChatGPT. It didn't feel sincere. It wasn't directed at the people they hurt. It felt like it was written to protect their image, not to take responsibility. An actual apology means recognizing who you hurt and showing that you're willing to grow, not scrambling to do damage control once the backlash rolls in. The only silver lining in this mess is that people finally pulled their support instead of just ranting on Twitter and then going right back to streaming the next day. That's real progress. It's time these idols learn that when you do clown behavior, you're going to get clown consequences. Black fans have every right to be fed up. And let's not forget, this wasn't their first strike. In 2023, Julie had a whole video resurface where she said the N-word. She gave an apology, people moved on, and nothing changed. That should have been the moment they all sat down, learned, and did better. But clearly, they didn't. That live stream was proof they learned nothing. And what really pissed me off? After everything went down, Belle had the audacity to tell fans not to leave. Like, girl, you knew it was offensive. You grew up in Seattle. You were raised in the US, surrounded by these conversations. You can't even use the I didn't know excuse. You did. You just didn't care. The fact that she let that whole live stream happen, knowing the weight of what they were doing, tells me all I need to know. She let it slide for the sake of the moment and now wants sympathy? Nah, that's on her. And for the kissies who still don't get the difference between cultural appropriation and appreciation, let me spell it out for you. Because honestly, a lot of people get this wrong, especially in K-pop and fandom circles. Cultural appropriation is basically when someone takes parts of a culture that isn't theirs, usually a marginalized culture, and uses it without really understanding it, without permission, and without respect. It's like borrowing something important, but treating it like a costume or a trend. Imagine a pop star rocking a Native American headdress in a music video just because it looks cool, completely ignoring that it's a sacred symbol. Or non-black celebs wearing box braids or cornrows and calling it edgy or new, while black people have faced discrimination and hate for those same hairstyles for decades. Then there's using stereotypical spicy Latina imagery or accents in songs or choreography, reducing a diverse culture to cliches for entertainment. Or people rocking bindis, saris, or henna at festivals like Coachella just for fun, without knowing anything about the religious or cultural importance behind them. That's appropriation. It's basically saying, I want to wear this because it looks good, but I don't care what it actually means to you. Now, cultural appreciation? That's a whole different vibe. This is when you come in with real respect and curiosity. You take the time to learn, understand, and honor the culture and the people behind it. Like a K-pop group credits black artists and producers who inspired their hip-hop sound, openly sharing the history and culture behind the music with their fans. Or taking a hip-hop dance class from a black instructor and learning about the culture and roots of the style, instead of just doing some viral TikTok moves with zero context. Collaborating with Indian musicians or composers, and promoting traditional Indian instruments or music styles while educating fans about their heritage. Or incorporating reggaeton beats into a song while highlighting the Afro-Caribbean and Latinx origins, giving shoutouts to original artists and the culture. Also, a K-pop group respectfully collaborates with native artists to feature traditional indigenous music, openly crediting the culture and sharing its meaning with fans. Appreciation is saying, hey, I admire your culture and I want to learn and honor it the right way. So yeah, it's all about intention, respect, and actually doing your homework before jumping on the trend train. That's the real difference. Think of groups like BTS, when they partnered with black creators for choreography and made sure those creators were credited and paid. Or when they donated to BLM and didn't center themselves in the narrative. That's appreciation. That's intention. That's what respect looks like. Most idols and fans don't get this. They just want the cool aesthetics, the viral dances, the urban vibe without any of the responsibility that comes with using someone else's culture. The K-pop industry has a long, messy history of this, and Kiss of Life is just the latest group to get caught doing what so many others have done and gotten away with. But this time, people aren't just letting it slide. And I love that for us. Because 2025 or not, this kind of foolishness should have ended years ago. So yeah, if you still don't understand why people are mad, maybe stop running to Twitter to defend your faves and start doing a little research. Proud ignorance isn't cute at all. And when fans leave because of your idol's actions, that's not cancel culture. That's consequences. Some people are probably going to watch this and think it's just hate, or that I've got nothing better to do than tear down groups. But that's really not what this is. I've never properly spoken on this before, and that's exactly why this video needed to exist. This isn't about hate, it's frustration. And not at the groups themselves, but at the bigger picture, the patterns, the silence, the constant brushing off. I know I'm not the best at breaking things down. I wish I was, but I'm learning, I'm trying, and I'm gonna keep showing up anyway. So if you felt this video, Go ahead and like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get more content, Rosieries. I appreciate you for sticking around. I'll see you next time, and bye.